Hey, hi, hello, we're back. Literally staying like the same
Hey.
spot. I'm not gonna actually use that great axe, I'm gonna use the quarterstaff because I can actually use that weapon. So we're back and we're gonna play DDO. Let's go. Oh, right, I gotta actually grab the quest. Okay, cool. So some people have these like little chalice health cup things. That means they have quests. Talk to them. Do whatever they say. That way they give you quests. Having a quest lets you go into a dungeon, talk to the door, give it a difficulty level, and actually walk in there and do it. And that's fun, because we want to do quests, because that's gameplay, and we get experience, and then we get more gameplay, and then more experience, and loops. Anyway, so there's like difficulty settings, but I don't really care about most of them, because I'm a Chad, and don't play on fucking casual. That's like a half joke. You can play this game on literally any difficulty you want. Just keep in mind that at different difficulty levels, obviously the dungeon is going to be easier or harder to beat, but also you get higher or lower level treasure, higher and lower amounts of treasure, as well as more or less experience. So the lower difficulty settings, you get lower quality and quantity of treasure, and you get less experience points. Higher difficulties give you more quantity and quality of treasure and more experience points. There are like what is it? 14, 15 difficulties or something?
Yeah, so I think it's
No,
14.
14. You could
10 Reaper, and then the other 4.
well, technically solo is a difficulty in some
That
quests.
doesn't
Nope,
fucking
nope,
count.
there's 15 difficulties.
There is 14, and then freaking Hello
15.
Kitty Island Adventure.
Listen, that's the 15th one.
No.
So the first 4 difficulties are pretty standard: casual, normal, hard,
Coming from
and
deep in the crypt,
elite.
you hear the
Normal is the
strange and
default,
unsettling
casual is
echoes that Kaya
basically
spoke of,
pretend the dungeon was
and
one
by the
level lower,
passage leading in,
hard, pretend the
a
dungeon was one level
grim-faced
higher,
man
and elite,
glares
pretend
at
the
you.
dungeon is 2 levels higher. Reaper mode has 10 sub-difficulties, Reaper 1 through Reaper 10, and that is like pretend the dungeon is 2 levels higher, except now add
Wants to kill you.
wants to kill you 1 times over, upwards of wants to kill you 10 times over, and basically the game plays exactly the same in casual through elite, it's just how difficult it is, and then Reaper mode actually just plays differently. Your damage is reduced, your healing is reduced, the healing that you can do on yourself is drastically reduced, as well as having the difficulty checks to have your abilities work are way harder, and these are all dependent on how many skulls there are. The skulls being the sub-levels, right? So Reaper 1 is 1 skull, Reaper 10 is 10 skulls, and all the numbers in the middle. So on Elite, maybe you need a 6 search to find the trap. On Reaper 1, maybe you need a 7. On Reaper 10, maybe you need like a 14 or something, right? Like, obviously that's not necessarily exactly how it is, but it keeps getting harder. Drastically so even. Like, it can get very
Strange.
difficult.
Sarcophagi line the wall. You notice
So you
something
definitely want to know what you're
strange about
doing
the
if you're
wall to
playing
the
on those higher
west. You
difficulties.
found some
Um,
kind of secret door in the
the
wall.
tutorial island,
This is a
Korthos
dark
Island.
and
You
dusty
coming?
passage. It
Yeah, 1
doesn't look
second.
like anyone's come through here in
You
decades.
Got
cannot...
messaged from work.
Oh, jobs. You cannot do Reaper on the tutorial island because it's just that. It's the tutorial. It doesn't really want you to jump into Reaper mode when you're level 1 because you're literally just going to die. Like, there's no character in the game that can do Reaper at level 1 by themselves with even the remotest hope of victory
It's out in the open,
beyond some
acid sprays
weird,
out of the wall as the
impossible
gate
luck or
slams
something.
shut.
Like, it's just not
There
happening.
must be some mechanism controlling the trap. If you search for it, you may find it.
Where is that trap?
To the important things.
I actually don't remember where the trap box was.
Wasn't it on the other side?
Oh. maybe this is one of the ones where I can't deactivate it now that the thing was there, because my spot notification for it went away too. Like, I had it, and then it went away. I think this was one of the few traps in the game where once it's triggered, you can't turn it off.
That could be.
A treasure chest glimmers in this passage. There may be something of use inside.
So these chests here are very specific to this dungeon, and they're pointless. Don't pick them up, because they give you really shitty weapons that are very specifically the exact same 1 or 2 weapons every time, and they're garbage, and they suck, and they're literally the worst things ever.
You continue to hear cultists about their evil work from further inside the crypt.
So my inventory pane is bugged, and I don't have an offhand weapon slot.
Weird.
I guess it's a good thing I chose a two-handed character, because I don't think I've ever seen that happen before. Anyways.
Yay, DDO.
Here, it'll actually be more obvious if I unequip the weapon. So if you read the damage section, it says 1d6 plus -1. So you're actually subtracting a point of damage from your damage rolls. This is because you'll see it is the moldy quarterstaff. The description specifies that it is slightly damp.
Gross.
So the weapon that Jeets gives you at the very start is actually worse than a regular default weapon. Because he literally just picked it up from the shoreline with like no quality, right? This was literally just like a stick that was floating in the ocean and he gave you. It's just like, yeah, sure, that'll be fine. Definitely, that's a weapon. That's what that is.
There's another Sahuagin.
Well, not for long.
Croaks. Crag Wolf Hayton, in life you serve. Another crest drops out as you smash the altar. There might still be other altars elsewhere in this crypt.
Breaking altars. Definitely want to break the altars before killing the Sahuagin if you can. Why am I going that way? You already cleared it out. I'm just going to go to the end.
This side's done. Got the crest.
Because you'll notice in the top right corner we've got optional objectives and then an objective that is not optional. So if you do these things that say optional, in a lot of cases you don't actually have to do them to complete the mission, though a lot of the times they can happen as sort of like circumstance of trying to.
You fit the last crest in place, and the magic shield dissipates. The Sahuagin inside spits out in a venomous voice. These fools.
Why do your pets always attack the altar first?
Consumed by the devourer.
Stupid. It's like chasing cars.
The last devourer altar shatters.
So anyways.
At least this time I ran around and did the things first instead. So we actually got the credit.
So a lot of the times these things that say optional aren't actually required to beat the mission. Sometimes they actually are, and it's basically just free extra XP along the way. Other times you can get them by happenstance, and sometimes you have to really go out of your way to do them. Either which way, barring a very select few optional objectives in the game, you get additional experience points for completing them, which is really nice. And certain objectives are not optional because they don't specify they are. If it doesn't say optional, it's not optional. You have to do those to complete the mission, and that's... oh shit, I probably shouldn't have walked out. Oops. And that's how you get your actual experience points for completing the dungeon as a whole.
Some of the braver villagers tried to stem the Sahuagin tide.
Action points.
But their courage led to naught but grievous injuries. Korthos
now use your dexterity modifier to hit with quarterstaves. That's gonna be better. And then I probably just want the attack speed first. I could get like slight flourish, or I could wait for the staff training, but I'm just gonna get attack speed. Attack speed. Why does it not have? Do I have to? Oh, is it? Oh, I think it's because it's listed as, yeah, quarterstaff attack speed bonus. So it doesn't actually show up there. That's fine, still attack speed. Whenever you complete the final objective, this dude's legs are literally in the ground. Whenever you complete the final objective for a mission, that is when you're granted all of your experience points for doing it. So if you only complete half of it and then you die, you don't get the XP. You have to do the final objective. And the objectives you have for the quest will update as the quest goes on. Sometimes there's literally one objective and that's it. Other times there's like 10. But when you start, you only have 1 or 2. And you get more as you go through. It just depends. So make sure you do the last thing. Not only that, but you've got a whole bunch of things on the experience report here. It says the level of the quest. This is its modified level. So it's base 1, but remember Elite adds 2, so it goes up to 3, and then it says the difficulty. It says how much base experience you get. Its status. Ugh, okay. I'm gonna have to wait to explain that until like the quest is done, because every time you break something or kill something, it updates and resets it to the bottom. No, it's fine. I'll just do it when we're done. It's okay.
I mean, you're already talking about it.
To be the main storeroom. It seems the villagers have been
I can't hit him through this like thing.
A large silver Sahagin emerges from a hidden passage, demanding the key. You mustn't let the scrolls fall into devourer hands.
83 damage and 20 sneak attack. Over 100 damage at level 1.
Nice.
Shout out to that nice and critical double strike with my +2 W from improved feint, which is still not the highest damage you can do at level 1. Not that I had a very high chance of doing that. Really?
Lag? There we go.
Yeah, that wasn't a question mark. That was a period. Just lag. So now that we got the key, we can unlock the door.
Swings open. It appears that the
Alright, so you might have heard that sound effect. One was the door, then the second one was the ransack bonus for breaking apart barrels and crates and stuff and getting more experience. Because you get more experience for doing that stuff. You'll see breakables smashed, 57. Now it's 58. It'll even keep track of who's broken how many, as well as monster kills and all these other things, which I'll explain more in detail in a second. But let's go back to the top of the experience report. Status, underway. We haven't completed it yet. We're still in the middle of it. It's underway. This quest does not even have optional objectives, so it says that there's none completed. But if it was one that had one, and then we had completed them, they would pop up here. So you could keep track of just bonus things that you've done when applicable. Re-entered the adventure 0 times. That just means we didn't walk out the front door and then come back in. If you leave a quest, as long as you are playing on a non-Reaper difficulty, i.e. casual, normal, hard, and elite, you can actually leave the quest before it's done. Go, say, fix your gear, heal up.
Ready for me to finish it?
Not yet. Fix your gear, heal up, or maybe go buy a specific wand or scroll you might need for something before you go back in, but you've already completed part of it. Or maybe you die and you quote-unquote release and go back to that spirit binder guy we talked to in the last video in the tavern, heal up, run into the quest, and then do, say, the second half of it if you only made it part way through. This just keeps track of how many times you've had to come back into the quest. Generally, if possible, you want to beat it on the first time you run into it. If you leave the dungeon intentionally or otherwise, when you come up to the front door, if nobody's in the dungeon and you are the party leader or you're by yourself, you can quote-unquote reset the dungeon, loading it back up to its initial state when you first walk in the first time, and it clears your number of re-entries. You'll notice why this will be more important as we get later down the line. Highest level player is 1. We literally just started, we're only level 1. Adventure is level 3. Remember, the island, we've got base level 1 quests that you can also see in the quest journal. The storehouse is secret, level 1. But remember, elite mode considers the dungeon 2 levels higher. 1 plus 2 is 3. There you go. First time completing elite difficulty, plus 45%. So you get additional experience the first time you beat a quest on any and every difficulty. It is a different amount of additional experience based on that difficulty, but you get more for doing it on that difficulty the first time you do it on that difficulty. Additionally, the base XP is also higher with higher difficulties. And then if you have never played that dungeon before, at least on that life or on that character, and you pick a higher difficulty, you get a bravery bonus, because it basically considers you to be unexperienced in that dungeon. If you play on a higher difficulty, on the first time you've done it, you can stack multiple copies of additional experience to really multiply how much experience you can get. That way you can sort of just kind of play the dungeon once, get a buttload of experience, and be done with it and move on to another one, instead of running the same one like 20 times or something. All experience is currently scaled by 20%. This is just because the game is currently having like a bonus weekend thing where you're just getting 20% more experience right now. Stuff like that just goes on and off depending on what like the weekly special is or something like that. Dungeons completed on hard and elite. This is the streak. This is how many times in a row that you've done a bravery dungeon, basically. Note that for whatever reason this number is actually inaccurate, as some dungeons only count towards hard and not towards elite, and I don't know why. Like, even if you do them on elite or on Reaper, which counts towards elite, sometimes certain dungeons just will count on hard but won't count on elite. I don't remember which ones, but there are, and it's really weird. Tome of Learning first time completion bonus. My character, kind of like how they have a Tome of Melee Power, a Tome of Charisma, they also have a Tome of Learning, which gives additional experience. In Heroic, i.e. 1 through 20, versus Epic, which is 20 parentheses 1 to 30, in Heroics, the first time you complete a dungeon, you get 50%, and then on all subsequent runs you get 20% if you repeat it for whatever reason. On Epic, I believe it's either 20 or 25 for first time and then 10 for repeats. Scorecard. After this break in the line, all of this stuff beforehand is sort of like your subtotal, and then after the break you can get additional bonuses, which are all based on what's before, or what's directly before the break in the line. So you take the base, and then all of your bonuses before the line, they're all based on that base XP. Hey, work, stupid thing. And then all of your bonuses after the line should be working off of the XP you have just before the break. If I remember correctly, I think that's how that works, which is one of the many reasons why running a dungeon on the highest difficulty you can get away with the first time you've done that is really important, because you sort of like stack multipliers for way more XP. Scorecard, monsters killed, you kill more monsters, you get more XP. There's like 3 levels that give increasingly more percentage bonus to experience. This isn't a flat bonus, this is a percent bonus, as I'm sure you can read. Certain quests don't have enough monsters to get higher level bonuses. It is what it is. But you get more XP the more monsters you kill, more XP the more traps you disable, more XP the more secret doors you discover, more XP the more breakables you smash, like crates and barrels, more XP for not re-entering the quest. This is why I made it such a big point to talk about running back in the dungeon earlier. If you don't leave and come back, if you beat the quest the first time you walk in, or you reset the dungeon after you leave, and then functionally, because now it's been reset, beat the quest the quote-unquote like first time you walk in, you get 10% XP for just doing it the first time. You lose the 10% bonus if anyone re-enters, and you yourself, I believe, get a 20% penalty if you re-enter. So you can still beat the dungeon and get some if it's just really too tough for you and you just can't do it in one run. But if you can avoid that and you can handle it, you can both not get a penalty and actually just get basically free XP. And 0 deaths. If you don't die, you get 10% more XP. If you die, you do not get 10% bonus XP. You don't get a penalty, you just don't get a bonus. Otherwise, monsters, traps, secret doors, and breakables, I believe all 3 have 3 levels of bonus XP, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3, which grant progressively more. These tiers are not even for all types. Like, you'll notice that breakables, the yellow version is the highest one. So orange is Tier 1, there's a blue that's Tier 2, and yellow which is Tier 3, Tier 3 being the highest possible bonus in that category. These are not all the same. Different tiers, due to how difficult they might be to accomplish, are worth different categories, monster, trap, secret door, breakables, are worth different amounts of bonus XP per tier because they are easier or harder to pull off. Hitting a crate, smack. Not very hard. You just kind of you can do the thing. Like you can unlock the scroll. You have to actually grab the scroll to end it.
Oh, okay.
Hey, look at that. Now the puzzle's all lit up.
All that remains now is to take.
So obviously just smacking a crate and breaking all of them isn't really very difficult, so it's not worth as much. You have to actually fight monsters, which is harder because they can kill you. Crates don't fight back, but it's also kind of a given that you fight them, so it's still not the most. Traps and secret doors are worth a lot more. Secret doors are worth a pretty good amount, but traps are really where some of the biggest XP can come from. If you have, quote-unquote, a trapper in your party, i.e. a rogue or an artificer, because they're the only 2 classes in the game that can do traps, and you run a mission that has traps, you can get upwards of 30% more XP, basically just for having a guy that can do traps in your party, assuming that they, 1, have enough skill to do it, and 2, actually do it. And then a daily playthrough bonus at the very end of 25%. Basically, once a day, whenever you play any particular quest, you get an extra 25% XP. And then once you do the last objective in the quest, which in this case is finding the hidden scroll, no, you cannot just... The game doesn't tell you, like, final objective, find the hidden scroll. It just says, find the hidden scroll. But once you do whichever one is the last one, in this case, picking up the scroll, you notice that we got the XP. And now over here, it says completion time, 12 minutes 34 seconds, because now we've completed it. It now says total XP awarded, not to be awarded upon completion, because now it's been given to us, including the daily playthrough bonus. And up here at the top, it now says status instead of underway. It says completed, bonuses locked in, XP awarded. What this means is that once you do the final main objective in a quest, you get the XP for whatever bonuses you have at that point. And like, let's say there were 10 more monsters in the dungeon and 2 traps. I go out and I kill those 10 monsters. I go out and I do those 10 traps, but I'm not getting more XP, even though I did those things, because the bonuses are locked in. The quest's been done, it doesn't care anymore. So before you do the final main objective for a quest, make sure you do whatever side things you want to max out your XP, if you so desire. Because once you do the final one, you get what you got. Okay, well now that that's done, I should never have to explain that one again. So, a lot of these things will very much be like one-time throughs, and then that should be good. Is that even...
The cool part about a video is you can go back and listen again.
Yeah, oh, I gotta like actually pick up these quests.
Probably.
I wonder, should we put up an LFM? Should we do that? We normally do that, but we're also recording right now, so I don't know.
Eh. Especially not now that we're partially through.
Ahead is the cellar where the Canith crystal is hidden.
Because they won't be able to go to the island without doing the first part, so.
You can feel the life-saving heat emanating
True.
from the magic crystal Boulder.
I guess that would give us a chance to show
from the shadows approach
just like
those
the
who
XP
would
report
doom
in practice
Korthos
during
by
like a
destroying
repeat or
them.
something. Dude, look at the sneak attack animation for Quarterstaff.
You just whack them with it.
I told you, he literally just whacks someone in the back of the head with a big ass stick.
Just a one-handed stick whack.
I told you, dude, half orc stick rogue actually built for sneaking. Is it the best build? No, but it's fucking funny. Look at this shit.
Whack.
It's literally just sneaky whack-a-mole.
Really, guy? Really?
So
You're
if
gonna
you
break the crystal just because they're ignoring us.
if you haven't noticed, guys watching, the objective is to protect the crystal, which is really hard if the monsters decide that they don't want to attack me or her or the wolf
Or the 15
or the
pets
other
that are
wolf. Yeah, either the two of us or either of the two wolves that are here. They just decide, nah, we're just gonna attack the crystal, and somehow, even though there's 4 people beating their ass, they just don't want to go, yeah, I'll defend myself. So they just suicide bomb on the crystal. Ooh, chesticle. I do like chests. Oh, there's only one left. The really cool thing about this quest, once you do it enough times, you'll actually figure out that the last enemy always spawns in the same place.
Right
And
there.
you can literally just gimp him right when he comes
Thus
in.
protecting the Caneth crystal and saving Korthos.
Oh, by the way, if you get any good I almost said crossbows. I'm too used to playing that Inquisitive.
That was the last life.
That was the last character. If you
I
get
did grab a stick, but it had devotion and stuff on it. I didn't think it'd be something you want.
literally anything is better than the moldy quarterstaff. It's not physically possible to be worse. Basic staff is better.
It is level 2, but here you go.
I will take that because it's +1 instead of -1, which is objectively better.
Good reason. Also, same if you find rapier, or I mean a sickle or a dagger. Doesn't really matter which, because both are probably better than what I have.
I'll keep an eye out for daggers, but yeah, I already knew to keep an eye out for daggers.
Although the ember sickle isn't as bad as a moldy sickle.
True.
Hero.
I like to pick up the Spearbane here. This is actually a quest where the drop you get is pretty important.
Friendly nods.
Reducing damage
comes that your
from
presence is
piercing
requested in
attacks
the
is
tavern.
really useful when a lot of the basic bitch enemies use daggers, which do piercing. And some vermin and animal creatures you fight that might bite you, their fangs might do piercing damage as well. So this can drastically reduce the damage of a lot of these early tutorial island enemies, making you far more durable. So if you're playing through this game for the very first time, the item that you get in some of these quests can be very important. So do pay attention to what you get, as even though the randomly generated loot has outscaled the tutorial island guaranteed quest reward drops, some of them still have some surprisingly practical purposes, or can at least guarantee you a specific benefit if you don't get lucky with your chest pulls. Chest. What? You don't like chest? I like chest. Come on, hit him. There we go. See, it sounds weird if you don't comment.
Oh. I'm indifferent, I suppose.
You're lost. More for me.
Your stalwart defense gives the Sahagin pause. But
See,
you
I don't know
know
why they
them
say
gathering
stalwart
outside
defense.
for
I'm
a
not playing a
final
fighter.
assault.
I'm not in stalwart defense stance. This should say your thief
You notice
acrobat
a
has granted
small
the enemy
chest hidden
pause.
behind the bar.
Man, it kind of sucks. This bastard sword would be like super useful. Since it's got stunning on it and you're doing stunning stuff. And +2 and lightning
Except
1.
I cannot use those.
Yeah. It's a shame not playing Strike through Vanguard, where I'd be like, holy shit, that's good.
Right?
I'd be like,
Lag.
accuracy, damage, elemental damage, stunning bonuses on all my stunning attacks. Sign me up.
You have weathered the Sahuagin storm.
Oh yeah, this game lags
Now
sometimes,
on to that
so
traitorous
you know,
Sometimes.
be aware that this game
He must
lags
have
all the
fled.
time.
Drexel disappeared.
So you can search
However,
for this door,
webbed
or
footprints
if
on
you
the
don't
ground
have
betray the
search, you
location
can
of a
actually
secret passage.
use this
Backtracking them may read the
barrel
chamber beyond the
thingy
secret
whatever.
passage looks ancient,
It's actually a
predating
keg
Korthos
thing. I don't know what
Bridge.
that is. I'm not paying attention.
Keg.
Oh, what?
A keg.
Yeah, sure. So you use that gek, and it actually is a lever in disguise, and it'll open the door if
Yes,
you
a
can't
gek.
find it. So this guy over here, he literally goes up to go wake up his master. So if you catch him in his patrol when he gets closer, and you can, say, trip him, like with the trip attack, you can stun him, or just kill him before he gets over there, or if you have a ranged attack and you can shoot him down as he tries to run away, you can actually stop him from waking up his Sahagin master, and then thusly sneak up on the fishman, which can be pretty cool. So there's a lot of neat little things that the tutorial island can actually have for you to do if you really pay attention, that can let you push your effectiveness to get away with a lot more that you might not otherwise know about, or that you might have to do once or twice to figure out. But it can let you really do a lot more. Stick. It's like you'll see we've got the optional objective for defeating Kivnurl, which is the fishman that showed up. But he showed up after the dungeon was completed, so he didn't count as a kill, so we didn't have our 25th kill, we only had 24. Towards the Monster Slayer experience bonus, but he himself was still a boss enemy that granted additional experience just for killing him anyways. So as you can see, there's a lot of weapons here that you can get. Most of these lesser monstrous humanoid main. If you're like actually playing through this your first time, and you're like soloing through the game on normal or something, and you're just kind of starting out, just getting a feel for things, picking up something like that can be really useful if you actually want to swap weapons based on the enemy you're fighting, as this is particularly effective against a very specific kind of enemy. Monstrous humanoids, of which Big-Ass Fishman are, whatever. But depending on the type of weapon you use, you might either not have that as an option, or might want a different one. Some others, like the Min's hand wraps, which have minor flaming, just do additional fire damage every time you punch people. So by the way, you can punch people with fire, which is one, cool, maybe it's hot, and two, this is just generically extra damage against everyone. Or like Oladrin's Great Crossbow, which has Cold Touch, which just only does 1 point of cold damage, as opposed to 1 to 4 fire on Min's hand wraps, but also has a unique effect called Keen, which you'll notice says doubles the base critical threat range of the weapon, but it doesn't stack with the improved critical feat. But it grants an additional bonus that the feat does not, where Vorpal strikes, i.e. whenever you roll a 20, unless you have an ability that makes your Vorpal range higher than just 20, will bypass all fortification. You don't necessarily need to know what all of these are, just to get the idea that a lot of different weapons and gear in general have a lot of different effects, and the most succinct way I can put this is, read what things do. Don't just willy-nilly pick something. Make sure you're looking at
Your
all
victories
of
have
your
made
gear
the village much
options
safer, but
and
only
make sure
temporarily.
you're picking
It's
the
time
thing
to
that
take
is
the fight to the
most
Sahuagin,
useful to
out in
you.
the wilds of Korthos
And if
Island.
nothing's useful, then either take whatever and sell it, or pick whatever is just worth the most money and sell it if you really feel like looking at it. Oh, we're level
Can I be level 2?
We can be level 2.
Woohoo! Bear.
Rogue is
Character has
over
become
here.
viable.
Here we go, Rogue Trainer. So leveling up. These little globule things here in the bottom right corner that are now glowing blue, rank 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the 5th one is next level. Whenever you get more experience points, your experience bar goes up. As you reach checkpoints on your next level, you hit rank ups. Each time you rank up, you get an action point. Action points you can spend in your enhancement trees. You can spend them in racial, class, or universal. I don't know why it's not toggled on here, but inquisitive is a universal tree. You can spend it on any of these enhancement trees, as well as whatever other ones you want that you can toggle on and off based on what you have access to. But you can spend them on any of these enhancement trees. Some abilities will cost 1 point, some will cost 2, some have multiple ranks, some have 1 rank, others you have to be a certain level for, or have spent a certain number of points in the tree, or one of a myriad of things. These are basically skill trees, talent trees, ability trees. You guys have played video games, you know how skill trees work. This game, they're just called enhancement trees, but they're fucking skill trees. Everyone knows how they work. When you need to level up, you talk to the trainer of the appropriate class. In this case, we're playing a rogue, so we want to talk to the rogue trainer. You can also multi-class and have up to 3 different classes at the same time, as long as you meet the alignment restrictions. Certain classes can only be certain alignments or can't be certain alignments. But for the most part, you can multi-class which way you want, and you can have up to 3 classes at a time, but your total level between all classes can only ever be up to 20. So I might be a rogue right now, but I've got 1 level of rogue. I could say fuck this, and I want to go be a fighter, and I could go level up in fighter, but I'll only ever be 19 fighter, even if I take every other level as fighter. Because I'll always have that 1 rogue level, which will total me up to 20, so I'll never be a 20th level fighter. Right, so always be careful based on how you're building your character from the get-go, because it can have lasting consequences, unless you do some workaround stuff to remove those consequences, which is not anything that's relevant right now. So just give them a talk, advance to the next level, spend your skill points by ranking up. In most cases, unless your build specifically only requires a certain number of points in a very specific skill, or you've mathed things out to where you only care about your effectiveness at level 30, and you know that you'll have, based on your enhancements and feats and gear choices and buffs and possibly even party members, you'll have a very specific amount of skill in a certain skill, and that will be enough to do what you need, and you know that you only need X number of trained ranks to do so. So unless you feel like doing all that math specifically for only the end of the game, in most cases, just find whatever skills your character actually uses and just keep them topped off every level. That is usually what you're going to want to do. But I get more and more skill points because of my intelligence tome. Having more intelligence gives you more skill points. So now I have to pick another skill to put them into. I'll put a few into jump maybe, just so I can have more jump sooner. That's probably good. Make sure to pick up all the quests before you leave. Probably should have went down and talked to the one over here first. While we're over here, this chick on the dock, the first mate, if you talk to her, you can skip the storyline and you can go to the rest of the game proper. as I mentioned in previous videos. But we're not doing that because we actually want to show, hey, things change as you do it. So as you do certain quests, you'll notice that others unlocked, where before there were not chalices above certain people, like say the mayor, for example, that we talked to. But after doing this quest, that quest became available. So when you first started off, there were 3 that we could do. After doing the one in the crypt, the storehouse, and the crystal protection, we unlocked a quest in the tavern. Once we did the quest in the tavern where we got betrayed, that opened up to the mayor, the guard, and that dude by the docks. You can run into the island proper now.
I'm gonna need a minute.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's fine. It unlocked those quests for us, and so then we can go pick those up. And then after we do those 3, it'll unlock the final quest. So certain areas in the game have these things called quest chains, which is something that I'm sure most video gamers can probably grasp. You do 1 or more quests, and then doing those then gives you access to do 1 or more other quests. Everyone's played World of Warcraft for at least 5 minutes. You know how those work. And just so you can see a little mouse work. Just so you can see a little something, you notice that this guy has a faded out chalice above his head. That just means that he has a quest that we do not currently have access to, but we can gain access to by either doing other quests or by reaching a higher level. It just depends on the prerequisite on a quest per quest basis. And then there's also this guy that actually has a quest out here in the wilderness. We also could not go to the wilderness earlier, I don't think. I want to say they don't let you leave until you do all the ones in the main village proper. I could be wrong because I've never really bothered trying, because why would I? While we're here, that gate that we used to come out here, you'll notice that it too gave us difficulty options, except it only gave us normal, and all of the other ones were blocked off. That's because this is what is called a wilderness area, or an adventure zone, or something like that. Basically, you have to go travel to certain quests. You don't just walk up to a door in the town. Not every quest takes place in town. Some quests take place out in the jungles or the deserts or whatever the case, right? You have to go out and brave the elements to access certain missions. Well, you have to go literally run your ass out there, right? So in order to do so, there's dangers out here. But this is a video game, and those dangers don't walk into town with you because that's the safe zone, and this is a game. So in order to keep things safe, they have it gated to where you have to talk to the gate or something similar to that nature and actually say, yeah, I want to go out into the wilderness. And it just sets it to normal difficulty because this isn't really the mission proper, and they don't want you making the wilderness area too difficult because this isn't supposed to be the actual dungeon. This is more of a set piece to travel to it, though there are side things you can do here and there if you want to scoop up a little bit of extra experience with these objectives, like slaying monsters or observing certain locations or doing sometimes puzzles here and there that unlock rare encounters, which are usually mini boss enemies you can defeat. Not always, but most of the time. And explore, running your feet over specific locations, showing that you've made it to those specific spots that have some sort of significance to the map at hand. So if you do want to explore and just see the sights, take out some mobs or some other miscellaneous jazz, you absolutely can. Like you'll notice this ventilation shaft is one of the explorers because it is a dungeon entrance. This is one of the quests we have out here, and we got XP just for finding it because it is a location of importance in this area.
The air grows damp and fetid as the ancient tunnel descends.
look at me, we attack much faster now. This is why I like Stick Rogue. Attack speed. Come on, come on. Yeah. Hey, no, hit. Lag. No fair. Oh, look at that. A strange silhouette of an enemy. My reticle can go red, and there's someone in the focus orb in the top left. Almost like there's a monster there. So sometimes monsters can sneak too, not just the player character. But in order to find them, certain skills like Spot will let you quote-unquote see them. You'll see that sort of like silhouette of them when they're trying to sneak if your Spot is better. And if they are moving, your Listen skill will show red blips on the ground if you can hear them. Oh, excuse me. Acute senses feel a draft somewhere. That little door icon. Let's take a look around, and secret doors. And you'll notice that sound effect in the background. We got an observance bonus for finding the doors. Even if we don't open them, we learned that they were there. Behind the doors is a lever. The lever opens a gate. Behind the gate are breakables that will slowly work our way towards more experience. And the same thing goes for this one.
You hear a gate ratcheting open somewhere behind
Except,
you.
it seems we've angered someone. A lot of someone's. But it's okay, we're awesome. So they died.
The tunnel splits here. Which way to the giantish device?
So here is a branching path. We could go left, which is the way the game default has open, but it tempts you with pulling the lever to swap the doors and check the other side. But we're gonna do something really cool. Acute senses make us feel as though there's danger here. Gee, I wonder what the danger is. It's not like it wouldn't be that poison spray coming out of the wall. Let's just fix that. Alright, there we go. Get rid of that guy. So we actually, you'll notice we failed to unlock the trap here. That's because we don't have like 1,000 points in disabled device. So sometimes we're going to do this thing called fail, in which case we try again. However, if you fail by a large enough margin, you can critical fail, and if you critical fail on a trap, the control panel explodes, and don't critical fail on the trap. Just don't. Does not end well. The trap is not disabled, so you and your friends can't walk past it harmlessly. You have to face tank it or try to dodge it some other way.
You hear ratcheting machinery. Something in the
And
chamber below you has
when the control panel explodes, if you're too close to it, it can actually burn you. So be careful. Try
Haven't we
not.
seen a trapper die to the trap exploding before?
Ah, yes. We have actually played with trappers who were so bad at being trappers that not only did they fail to disable the trap, they critical failed to disable the trap, and they weren't even dodgy enough or healthy enough to survive the explosion of the control panel literally blowing up in their face. And so they were a trapper who died attempting to disable a trap. They literally died to a trap that wasn't even attacking them. They attacked the trap and died to it. They weren't even standing in it. Literally just the console killed them. The worst part is I was playing a trapper who could automatically search without even having to actively search, and was also an intelligence-based character, so my trapping skills were higher. This character is not intelligence-based. This character is dexterity-based, and I only have some intelligence, so this one is nowhere near as good at doing traps. The other one was like literally a trapping god for the most part, and could do them with no difficulty, and could critically succeed on traps with mid-tier rolls of the die, and literally couldn't fail in most cases. Well, that guy literally died to the box. Feels bad, man. This chest sucks, and I don't even bother opening it because it's trash. Trash, I say.
I'm putting on the boots that I just got from it. So
What?
there.
I'm not. That's garbage.
It's your loss.
Yeah, I don't think my
The
loss
fuzzy
is what I'd
boots
call
to go
that.
on my fuzzy feet.
Alright, so we've got a puzzle here. You can go ahead and start doing the puzzle. Some of these missions have puzzles. This is a floor tile puzzle, which, honestly, I actually really like floor tile puzzles.
You do that side.
No, you do it while I'm explaining it.
Oh, you can talk about it and show people how to do the puzzle.
Fine. Okay. So, you'll notice that these gems are lit up here on this central box console thing. This is where the power is coming out of. The power follows the line. Here, let me disable auto target. The power follows the line that the tiles give. So if you rotate them, this tile's not lit up because it's not connected to the power source. If I turn it around, it's now lit up, but it's being sent out to the right side. Nothing's connected to it. It started off going out to the left, which has all those tiles, and you'll see that it follows this line that connects to this one in the front, which is where those ice jets are coming out of the way we came from. But we don't like that. Instead, we want it to go on the ice jets over here to try to freeze whatever the hell that thing is. I think it's a giant scrag. Anyways, so in order to do that, we need to get the crystal over here lit up. So if we just rotate some of these around here. Oh, wrong one.
A layer of
There we go.
ice over the ancient creature,
And some of the
guaranteeing
ice stuff spills over and it freezes this area in general. But look,
for now.
now the dude's stuck in ice. I wonder if I don't think I can unlock this door. No, door cannot be picked. Man, imagine if you could unlock that door and go in there. That'd be an
That
Easter
sounds
egg.
like a way to die.
Well, he was still asleep. He was just going to wake up.
That sounds like a way to potentially die.
Yo, what if that's how you unlock legendary Korthos Island?
Steam
You have to unlock the door
underground.
with
You have
the
to let out the giant.
yeah, and then that now you have to deal with legendary Korthos Island. Legendary content, for those of you wondering, is basically a level 30 plus content. Heroic is 1 plus, epic is 20 plus, legendary is 30 plus. The character level cap is currently 30. So, you know, context. Basically, it's really hard. My horsey token over here brings up a mount that you can use when not in a dungeon that gives you big move speed. Makes you run faster, which is just cool. Oh, I should... Oh, wait. That staff's level 2. Cool, I can use a better staff.
Yeah, that one I gave you is 2.
There we go. Goodbye, moldy quarterstaff.
Should burn that shit.
I did, I already destroyed it.
Good.
So you'll notice that I destroyed that item as opposed to waiting till I went back to town to sell it to a vendor. That's because it had the starter effect on it, which basically just makes it to where you cannot sell or trade the item. You can only remove it from your inventory by destroying it, because it's basically considered such a valueless, sometimes literally negatively valued item, that it's just not worth it. They literally want you to use that item only until you get literally anything else.
Couldn't even pay them to take it.
You really can't, because frankly, who would want a moldy quarterstaff?
Apparently you did.
I didn't want it, I had nothing else better to pick.
Well,
Frankly, I don't even want this staff. I want my nicked quarterstaff, but we're trying to like show them the island and let them experience a modicum of the actual game thing instead of just skipping through and going, nah. So, you know, I can't, even though I'd like to. Ugh, not having auto search, not being intelligence
I'm gonna let
based.
you handle the doors because I can't search while raging and I don't want to go in and out of rage because I don't care.
Oh, you too angry to look for the finer things in life?
Yep. So I will just run through them instead because that's what I do.
You do tend to do that.
As you twist the second valve closed, the hissing
Optional
stops.
experience. Ow. I actually rolled a 1 on the trap. Feels bad, man. My reflex save is +8, and I get a bunch of bonuses to saves against traps specifically, and I rolled a 1, so I just auto fail. Yay.
Yay!
So one thing you'll notice there,
Gate, you see a familiar sight.
when we attack that Iron Defender, is we rolled a 20 but didn't crit. This is because that monster had Fortification. Fortification means that whenever you would land a critical hit or a sneak attack, there's a % chance equal to their Fortification that you instead roll normal damage instead of critical or sneak damage. If you have Fortification Bypass, then you reduce the enemy's practical fortification by your bypass, and thusly have a greater chance of actually dealing critical or sneak damage where you otherwise wouldn't. There's a little locked door over here you can just get an extra treasure chest with if you so desire, if you have the ability to unlock them. +2 quarterstaff at level 3. You notice that these Iron Defenders seem almost like frozen in time. When we broke the crystals, we removed the power source from a very large portion of this facility, if not really all of it. And so those Iron Defenders that were once active are now inactive. So you can loot the bonus chest room without having to fight the monsters. But if you want to fight them, then you want to go to that room before breaking the crystals. So certain things in certain quests actually have a sort of like little mini thing. Spaceman helmet, astronaut time, where doing certain things before or after others will give you a slightly different result. That's true. I guess if I'm going to be sneaking, maybe I probably isn't a bad idea to max out jump and tumble. That way I can jump and tumble while sneaking. as sneaking reduces your jump and tumble skills by, I think, 20. So,
Get the jump spell pretty early though.
well, but yeah, but remember, when I was doing this stuff, that was just to get to the 40 jump in the first place. If I actually put points in jump, that's to mitigate the penalty while tumbling. Not, or
Oh, I
while
see.
sneaking. Not so that I can jump, but so I could, like, jump while sneaking. So it actually is still useful. Never mind.
Fair enough.
I was just doing it to get it sooner because I was like, I don't really care about getting any of the other skills. But now I'm like, oh, no, wait, I actually probably should do that. Huh, go me.
See what I have to deal with. Once the Sohagan get your scent, they won't stop until you're dead.
Look at this, dude. Just seeing this absolute unit of a man with this huge stick sneaking around.
We might actually get through this. Just hold for a little longer.
Making me regret not having made Ugg a rogue.
The Sohagan magic is gone.
You know, see Ugg.
This time.
Hayden looks weary
That would have
after
been
surviving
funny,
this
but
latest attack. Perhaps you should talk to him again.
alas.
Go now. Tell Ursa to hold the barricade just a little longer.
I mean, do you want to
Then
trade?
meet
Do you want to be the
Amalgam at
rogue
base
and have me
wizards
be the
when
fighter?
you're ready.
No.
With Hayden finally persuaded to help, the people of Korthos
I'll
might
just have to
finally
pretend that you are
release
Ugg.
Vicariously live through my stealth rolls.
There is two Uggs. There's DDO Ugg and Ugg Ugg.
Ugh,
a
ugh.
mangled
Ugh,
silver
ugh.
leads
That's
to an old abandoned candy
one way to word it.
factory.
Maybe next time Ugg's friends won't hit him.
Hey, that wasn't me.
That's true. At least he shoved Seb behind a bed, though.
I mean, that evens it out, right?
It does even it out. He mostly did it innocently.
Mostly.
Mostly.
I like how the name of that monster's Young Ice Mephit, except I can only imagine it being spelled Y-U-N-G. Young Ice Mephit. That's a rapper name.
His rapper handle.
Yeah. It's your boy, Young Ice Mephit. Back at it again with a fresh new single.
All of a sudden, the sense of rot and decay assail your nostrils. In the corner, you see
Dude,
the
why does this
glint of
game
light
hate my nostrils so
gruesome as
much?
the secret door slides open. You see a magical cell across the chamber. Could it be Ohayon-Wilkinson?
Wait. I have a bludgeoning weapon. I should do the skeleton side. That leads me into a great segue of certain monsters have different vulnerabilities, resistances, and immunities. Basically, sometimes monsters take less damage from certain types of damage, sometimes they take no damage from certain types of damage, and other times they take extra damage from certain types of damage. So trying to use the right damage type against the right enemy, or dealing with a specific part of a dungeon that has different enemies that are resistant or vulnerable or immune to different kinds that you can do is always useful. Most characters will specialize in something that only does one damage type, and will try their best to mitigate resistances or work around immunities. Other times you'll play a character that has a bunch of different damage types, but or at the very least can functionally use a lot of different ones to a well enough degree. Like you might play Pale Master Wizard, which is basically all in on necromancy. And so they really do a lot of negative damage, but negative doesn't work well against undead. But they might still have enough level of skill in dealing, say, fire damage, even if they're not as good at it. So they can burn away undead, but they really want to be sucking the life out of living creatures or something. Oh, and I guess I can show this off. So this is actually a locked door that you can only access after completing a quest. Sometimes you'll have instances of treasure that you can't get immediately and you have to do something else to get them. So don't be afraid to take a look and see if you get something extra. In this case, we got gloves that grant use magic device. Not the skill, but it grants a bonus to the skill. So we can basically access items that require a certain amount of that skill at a sooner point. Or have a greater percent chance of using them, whatever the case may be.
By the falling water.
Now you'll notice that that monster didn't have those little eyes pop up to the side of their head or something, because even though I was sneaking right in front of him, he wasn't trying to notice me, because there was this big ass bear he was paying attention to. So he was kind of distracted.
Understandably.
Understandably so, yes.
I would be pretty distracted if there was a bear in front of me.
Yeah, but not for the same reasons.
No, I'd be giving it a hug.
This entrance leads down into an ancient Cannith aqueduct.
Versus in that case where you were giving the Sahagin a hug. Just, you know, not a very good hug.
Resilient spider webs block your path. They don't look capable of withstanding blows from your weapon, though.
Jumpity jump jump.
The cells in this room hold a number of desperate Korthos villagers.
Don't mind me, just waiting on the lever. Lever pulley system. Oh, great. Oh yeah, so that's a thing. Sometimes the bridges don't work, and when they first come down, well, they're not entirely loaded in properly. But on the bright side, that gives me a great excuse to show you that this mission has a secret chest underwater behind a locked door. Yay, secret chest. Just make sure you can actually breathe underwater long enough to do it without dying, because if you run out of breath and you start drowning, don't run out of breath and start drowning. You'll start taking damage constantly, and that's really annoying. Because it'll kill you and you'll die to death until you're dead. And we can come and rescue all these people. Working on our optional for rescuing all the villagers. Got half of them here, and there'll be the other half in another section. Now, there's also something to consider in that if you already know the story of the game and stuff, and so you're not playing it just to experience that, and you're mostly just there for raw gameplay or something, and you're trying to be more concerned with how much XP you're getting at an average rate, there are certain objectives that are or are not worth doing from like an experience per minute perspective, because they just don't grant as much. Like, killing that skeletal mage was 150 XP, and it only took, you know, it didn't even take a minute, but completing the whole quest would grant us over 2,000, and so if we can go fast enough, is that worth it? Also, I have no idea where the box is. I should probably check.
I think it was on the other side.
It's gotta be around here somewhere. There it is.
It was back over somewhere.
Found
Yeah.
it. That's the other thing too about playing a trapper who is not an intelligence build is
You have breached the
even if you
Devourer
can
Sanctum.
find the traps, you
From
might not
ahead, you'll
necessarily
hear a
find them quite
woman's
as easy.
plaintive cry for help.
So if you have anyone targeted, you can hit Z as a sort of quick toggle to see some information about them,
The evil cult leader will
which can
spill
just grant
innocent
you
blood
stuff
no
like,
more.
you know, maybe now you know their creature type if you weren't sure before for whatever reason. You can see if they have any buffs or debuffs on them. Things like that. And you
The
can do this
last
on
imprisoned villager grasps
friendly
your
creatures
outstretched
too,
hand,
like
rising
NPC
above
allies
the
in most
The
cases.
Devourer will not
Ready
feast
for me to
on
talk to her?
innocent tonight.
Yeah.
Not on
And you
your
can also do it to
watch.
people in your party. That way you can look and see what effects they have on them, such as if they're in a specific form, what that form does, or money. Or if they have a specific spell that they cast on themselves that buffs them up, or maybe if they're allied, allied? No, what? What's that word? That thing, or ailed. Maybe they're ailed by some kind of debuff. Not that they will necessarily all show up, but a lot of them should at least. So you can always take a peek and see what people are and are not being affected by, for the most part. Which can always just be useful to give you an idea of maybe the kind of character that they're playing as you get more experienced with the game. Or, I don't know, I'm just gonna take that, I guess.
Your
Doesn't really
finding
matter.
Hayton transformed the village. It
Oh,
seems
good.
as if all of Korthos were holding out for news of your next
Or if maybe
great
they
victory
need
with bated breath.
a certain effect cleansed off of them, and you can help them. If you are, if you do have access to something, like maybe they're diseased and you have access to an ability that removes diseases, hey, you can do that. I think I want to get Nimble Grasp though, because sneak damage. So this gives me a great opportunity to show people about set bonuses. So you notice that one of the 3 effects on this pair of gloves is called Nimble Hand. This pair of gloves is one of 2 pieces of the Nimble Hand set. When both items are equipped, you will receive +1 to hit and +2 damage to sneak attack. All that means is that in order to get that buff from that item, you can't wear just that item. You have to have one or more of these other items depending on what it specifies from some other source that has that same effect. And then when you combine them together by wearing both or all 3 or all 5 or whatever the case is at the same time, then you get all of the effects. So Nimble Hand specifies that there is 2 items in the set, and this pair of gloves is one of them. So in order to get the effect of +1 to hit and +2 to sneak attack damage, you have to wear these gloves, and you have to find whatever that one other item is. I know what it is, but that's not important right now. So whenever I come back to town, I always like to check to repair my gear, just so the stuff doesn't break, and sell whatever junk I don't really care about, which is usually most of it. Actually, these thieves' tools should be enough for now. We've only got that one other quest. And then always don't forget to spend your action points. I can go more into detail on which abilities I'm picking in my skill trees and why at some other point, but for now, just don't forget to spend them whenever you get the chance, because the more action points you spend, the more effects you get from them, which means the more things you can do, or the better you are at doing those things that you already can. So we've got this place down to only the final tutorial quest, which will really ask a lot of the player because you'll have to do like a very tiny marginal little bit of something, whereas before it's honestly been nothing. And then even then the tutorial is the final quest is pretty easy. But don't be afraid if you're like having trouble with it. Don't get discouraged. It's also a lot easier for me because I've built up a good amount of passive bonuses just from playing over the years, as well as the fact that I've had the experience of playing for years and thusly just know some things here and there about building the character or playing the game or whatever, or even just certain items to pick in certain cases that can just make it easier. You might have noticed that some chests I skip because they will only ever drop a very specific item or one or more from a set of very specific items, and I know what all of them are and they're not really good or I just don't care enough to bother. And you'll notice that so far all of the quest givers, when you return with the quest, they give very specific rewards, right? Kind of like if you're playing World of Warcraft, you get this specific item or your choice of these specific items, versus when you're out adventuring where you pick up all the randomly generated loot. That's actually not going to remain like that. The tutorial has very specific turn-in rewards as a part of the tutorial to teach you about certain things by handing you those items, so you can guarantee that you have access to certain basic effects. If those, you can figure out which ones are most beneficial, so you can learn kind of like which items are better or worse, or they just give you general things that are of roughly equivalent value. And it can teach you kind of like, okay, this much of this stat is roughly comparable to that much of that stat, or, you know, at the very least the tutorial considers that to be true. She screams a lot, don't mind her.
Roaring.
It's the
Not
same,
screaming,
it's
it's
the same.
roaring.
It is, you are a
Roar.
bear, it is the same thing. Oh yeah, Jeet, Selimas, and Talbron were back, by the way, so they're pretty cool.
Now to find
We're racing them.
Well, you know. We're doing something alright. Imagine asking why we won't die and then dying.
Several humanoid figures surround a glowing pedestal. Their putrid forms are frozen in contorted poses, their faces set in silent, eternal screams.
So anyways, so we're getting a lot of very specific gear drops now, but that will not remain, and then most of the time, for most of the game, you will get randomly generated items as your turn-in rewards as well. But that's fine, because the randomly generated loot actually isn't half bad. You just gotta pay attention to making sure you grab the right thing. And then you will find more and more that chests, oftentimes the end chest or the final chest at the end of a dungeon, usually after beating the boss, will have a chance to drop one or more, usually one item from a very specific set of unique items that are oftentimes a lot more powerful than the random loot of that level would be. And these are usually, if you can access them, some of the strongest gear in the game that you can get, but they often require the temporal investment of farming. So don't think that you're usually going to just kind of have them. That's sort of the trade-off with it, is a lot of the items from Korthos Island you can just kind of get, because all of the unique ones you basically just had to do the quest to get. But in the future, to really start getting those unique items, you probably won't be able to do that quest just one time. You'll oftentimes have to repeat it, possibly even bringing other people with you, in order to get your hand at the best gear that might be there. Now, why bring other people with you? Well, one, it makes it easier to beat the dungeon. 2, it's more fun because then you're playing with other people. But also 3, because if the item you want while you're farming drops in the chest for them, they can give it to you as long as it's still in the chest. Basically, they can give you ownership as long as they haven't actually looted it. And then you can loot it, because now you own it instead of them, because this game has instanced loot, so you physically can't ninja loot people. And now you can get that item, so other people can literally help you look for the item that you want when you're farming very directly, which is pretty nice. As long as it is an item that drops from the chest in the first place, of course. If it's not, then it's not. That was the optional one. I wonder, can I make this jump? Well, not if I slip off. I don't know what the spacing for that one is because I've literally never tried it. At least I don't think. I also usually have speed boots and feather falling cloak and would just yeet myself off anyways.
Yeah, we usually have all of our decked out stuff.
You say decked out, like speed boots and a feather falling
Super
cloak
decked
is decked out.
out.
That's just quality of life dot item. Because I want to run faster and fall slowly instead of like a brick. Though I will say, for a brick, this half-orc flies pretty good. All these items. You'll notice that these starter potions we've been picking up, they've actually been asking if we want to take them. That's pretty unique, I believe, to almost, if not exclusively, just those starter potions.
Yeah, it's just those ones.
And that's just because they are technically slightly stronger than the normal Cure Light Wounds potions, because they just only kind of show up here. They're just trying to give you a little bit of extra leeway while you're kind of starting yourself up.
With the second signal crystal activated, you hear the stone door at the base of the cavern rolling open.
see. And Geronimo! Ow. Yeah, only jump off of things like that if you know that you're not going to die for doing so. Because fall damage is a thing, and if you don't have enough hit points, it will just kill you. But I have investment in both jump and tumble, which both slightly reduce falling damage, so that can help.
And you have a healer.
Yeah, you gave me like 3 hit points.
Shut up! I didn't say a good healer. Jeez, dick.
Oh, look at that. You ticked for 2 that time. Oh, whoa. Max roll.
Hey, look, now you're healed up.
Max roll crit for 6.
You're over here shitting on me.
Well, your heals are bad.
That's not very nice.
Chills
Neither are
run
your
down
heals.
your spines, you finally come face to face with the
Wow.
dragon
How much
that
do you
has
heal
been
yourself for per
terrorizing
tick?
Korthos.
2?
Even at rest, it is
Ooh,
a truly
look at that.
awesome beast.
Because we're an elite, so it's
2.
the same.
I mean, most of those ticks healed me for 1. How much healing amp do you have?
Probably 10? Let me see.
The door at the rear of the cabin pops open.
20.
Attracted by
Well,
the
I have
roar,
35,
rush
so you
out
got
in
lucky
front of you.
rolls. Besides, if you see how much you're actually healing, I don't even think that healing amp really matters.
No, not really.
Because your base healing is, well, 1. Oh, 2 twice in a row. Oh, nope, more ones.
I have 40 positive spell power.
So you're healing 1 times 1.4 times 1.35 on me.
A lot of ones.
Well, you know, just multipliers. I guess I could pull up my calculator and do the math for that real quick.
Nah.
Oh, but
They'll
now I
just
kinda
make fun
want.
of me more.
Now I'm going to do it.
Man!
Here, you can even fight those guys. You got this.
I don't know, my healing's pretty bad. I don't know if I'll survive.
Yeah, but your DPS is fine, so. Just frag them. Also, they do like no damage. Do. 1 times.
Well, at least you said my
1.
DPS is fine.
How much positive spell power do you have?
40.
So on me, you heal 1.89.
Which probably sometimes gets rounded up and sometimes gets rounded down.
Probably. I don't know, something like that. And
Which
you
is why you see 1s and 2s.
and you have what? 20 positive healing amp?
Yeah.
And on yourself, you heal an average of 1.68.
So good.
By the way, try not to like Skyrim
Another
stealth where
heavy
you literally
door
just
bars
crouch
the
and then
way
stand in
down
front of
the
people. That's not really a
Once
good idea.
again,
You actually
the
do
crystals
want to
are set
stealth
to
like a
the wall.
normal person if you're actually trying to do it. Especially if you're doing stuff by yourself. Like I was there, so I actually like broke the corner. So it'd be easier to sneak up on them because then they didn't see me for a second there. Now, I will say sneaking up on all of these guys at once is yeah. Well, luckily, we speak softly and carry a big stick, so we're fine.
Oh, Anubis died. Oh, what will we do?
Die.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go. Like, I can't carry on. Oh, never mind. He's back. I'm good.
You feel fresh frozen
So one thing
air
you can do
gust
is you can
in
actually
from the
tumble
newly opened
between
door
attacks. If you don't walk forward, you only tumble in one direction or another. That'll actually maintain your attack chain. If you need more accuracy, this can be useful because later attacks in the attack chain have a higher accuracy bonus on top of your base bonus. This, in like the vast majority of cases, won't actually matter, but it looks really cool.
Anubis got 2 kills.
Anubis stole 2 kills. Now see, it didn't actually matter that I was just sneaking right in front of them, because that wasn't actually for them to, like, explicitly not...
We're focused on the bear.
Yeah, that wasn't explicitly for them to not see me. That was more so just for them to notice the big-ass bear first. So then they're shooting her, and then me sneak attack. The same thing with being behind that enemy as he spawns in. So when he spawns in, he sees the bear, not the rogue. Basic backstab stuff. Or I guess, back bonk. Another thing to note, certain special attacks, like Improved Feint, will reset your attack chain, others will not. There's not really a lot of rhyme or reason to which ones do. So if I attack and then improve feint and then attack, you'll notice that using that uses the animation of the first attack in the chain, and then also resets it so my next attack is the first attack in the chain. So if I don't attack and I just use improve feint and attack, you'll notice that I do the first attack twice because it resets it. It interrupts it and also resets it, and then also just uses the first attack as its own animation. And ta-da! We're totally not done. There is definitely more to
as you
this.
spot a green crystal on the ledge
No,
ahead.
I'll do this so you can see the DM
This
text.
must be the quarry mine sunder. The Mind Flayer and Dragon are locked in a contest of wills.
Aww.
This could be your chance to destroy the Mind Sunder.
Bonk.
The Mind Flayer shrieks as it loses the Mind Sunder's power. The dragon reasserts its will and looks very annoyed.
There we go. Mind Flayer taken care of. Dragon freed. For now.
Follow me. Peyton wants a word.
Until we go back and kill that dragon when we're a higher level.
Are we actually gonna do that? That quest was pretty cool.
We could if you want.
Yeah.
Well struck.
Since
I wish we
I
could
think we've
start
only
some
done it
dragons.
once, maybe
Such a feat is
twice.
beyond my abilities.
It will take hours to remove the fang marks from my armor.
Weird because he's a sorcerer, but he's a warforged, so it kind of works.
Next time you fight the dragon and I'll break the crystal.
Yo, I'm telling you, legendary Korthos, we fight the dragon, they break the crystal. I'm calling it.
Here, take this portal, so you won't have to walk back.
And like magic, the snows stopped.
We did it.
Korthos! They cheer as you return. But destiny has greater plans for you than just this small village.
Now, you'll notice, like I mentioned, Shadow Dodge does not cost 2 points per rank, it costs 1. Quick Strike does not cost 2 points per rank, it costs 1. So, we will actually be able to scoop up stuff like that. Then if you come over here, we can actually find the Nimble Brooch, the other item in the Nimble Hand set. So we can scoop that up. Gives us dexterity, resistance, which boosts all saving throws, and the other item of Nimble Hand. So now we have Nimble Hand. Boom, our first set bonus. Now you'll notice that there's a bunch of different effects on these items. Items do not stack with each other in the effects that they give, even if they do the same thing. So you see that this engraved circlet says +1 resistance bonus to will saves. This necklace says +1 resistance bonus to fortitude, reflex, and will saves. I do not get +2 to will saves. I only get +1. And this is because they give the same type of bonus. They both give a resistance bonus. Now, if instead of resistance, let's say the engraved circlet gave an insight bonus, well then they would stack, and then I would get +1 from one and +1 from another for +2 total. Let's say the engraved circlet gave will save +2 for a +2 resistance bonus, and the nimble brooch was just resistance +1. Well, then I would get a +1 resistance bonus to fortitude and reflex saving throws from the nimble brooch, and then a +2 resistance bonus to will saves from the engraved circlet, because it takes the highest caliber of bonus of any particular type you have. So because I get a +1 resistance bonus to all saves here, but then I have another item that is a +2 resistance bonus to only one save, well, the two saving throw bonuses that I have of only +1 of that type only get +1, but the one that doubles up, I just take the higher of. So basically, the biggest bonus of the same type is the one you use, because same type bonuses don't stack. And now you'll notice that the white dragon has been freed, the Mindsunder destroyed, the Mind Flayer evicted. Now it's not all snowy and dreary around here. And now we are in the sunny side. The snow is gone, the ice is freed, the ships can leave, and we can say goodbye. And now, instead of having access to other players to party up with that have not left the island, we now instead, not in addition to, instead have access to players to party up with that have left the island, of which constitute virtually everyone, because who the fuck loads up into the game, doesn't complete the tutorial, and then keeps playing? So, you know.
The dark of eternal night has drawn its cloak over Dalara's graveyard.
And if you
Attend
want, you
the
can
night
talk to the
revels,
first mate again and
if
go back
you
whenever you
dare.
want. If you want to do repeat the missions, or if you skipped in the first place and then just decided you wanted to come back. I don't have enough bluff for him. Lame. And if you are in a guild, or you have a friend that is in a guild, you want to follow this path that I'm taking here, because this will take you to... Oh, lag. This will take you to one of the most useful, important, and frequented locations you will ever go to in this game, your airship. Consider your airship the equivalent of your guild house, in the sense that you might have a player home. In some games, this is basically a guild home, more or less. It's the hub for your guild. This amenity bar, you talk to it, and it will give you access to guild buffs. They last 5 hours, and they stay on even through death, and the timer only ticks down while you're in a danger zone, a wilderness zone, or a quest proper, not while you're in safe zones, like the main city and stuff like that. And they give you a bunch of very small bonuses to pretty much everything. If you have access to all guild buffs, it amounts to a +1 or a +2 bonus to basically every stat. It's not a lot, but it is a little bit of something, and who's really complaining? There's a couple odds and ends here and there that don't work exactly that way, but that's most of them. Oh, actually Actually, I probably shouldn't go to the cargo hold first. So there's a bunch of other... There's a bunch of other spots on here. We were on the top deck, and then there's 4 lower decks, and then the cargo hold. So just to show you what they look like for a second, because they're all going to be about the same. They all have different things here. The first deck has, like you see here, ammunition vendors, training dummies you can smack around, divine vendor, so if you're a divine caster, a trapsmith vendor, which you need a favor with the free agents to do stuff with. Favor basically being like reputation or something, you know, arcane vendor if you're an arcane caster. That's just what's on the first floor, and they all have different things depending on the floor or the section or where your guild set them up in the place. In the case of thank you. In the case of our guild, on the 3rd floor, we have the spirit binder. So instead of having our spirit be bound to the priest in the tavern in Korthos, our spirit is now bound to our guild airship. So whenever we die, if we release from a quest, we come back to our guild airship, which means if we need to reactivate our buffs for whatever reason, we can. And not only that, but when we talk to the buff bar, you notice it gives us the Banquet Hall spell points and Banquet Hall health buffs. These give us mana regeneration and health regeneration for a short duration, but of a very large amount, which will allow us to heal up from, well, you know, being dead way faster for free, as well as giving us, if nothing else, something like a barkeep or something else just to repair and sell our equipment if we need to. If you want to have items, you can buy food and drink to try to heal you too, but the buff bar should have you covered. You can buy back things that you've sold with vendors, things like that. You've got mailboxes, you've got vendors, you've got training dummies, you've got chests, you've got people that will teleport you to various locations, both like in the world and in other worlds in some cases, like lore-wise in universe. Auctioneers to buy and sell stuff on the auction with other players, bankers to pull things out and put things in your bank, 1 in a billion other things. It's really useful to come right back to your airship. If nothing else, because you can repair your stuff, heal up, and then go up to the very tippity top, and I'll even go show you, talk to the captain, and ask her to take you to a specific spot, and that way you can teleport to basically any other hub location in the game, or at least the vast majority of them. Being able to go to the harbor, which is where we got dropped off from after going to coming from Korthos Island, the marketplace, the enclaves for various houses in the area, the Tower of the 12, where the mages, or not the only mages, but really the main mages sit at, the Hall of Heroes, which has a couple miscellaneous things, the Clifftop Tower District in Sharn, if you want to go to the City of Towers, and then the Far Shifter can teleport you to other locations as well, like the deserts of Menectaran, or even to other planes like Amrath and Shavarath. You can go to a very, very large portion of locations in the game just by talking to the captain and even having her talk to the Far Shifter for you. Or you can just go and directly speak to the Far Shifter themselves. This won't get you everywhere, but it will get you most places, and most of the few places that you can't directly go to aren't too far off from one of the other places you can teleport to if you know which one is where. So it's super useful. Yeah. What do I spend 1 point on? Quick Strike? 1 point of haste boost? Because I definitely want to have that other point for stick fighting for dex to damage soon. A little more hit damage. Oh. I don't know where I want to spend the other point yet, and it doesn't really matter. So I'll worry about that later. For now, though, that was mostly just about getting through the tutorial island and showing a few other miscellaneous things here and there. So if you'll excuse us, we have to pull out a lot of stuff from the bank. Because whenever you TR, you retain your gear. But there's not enough room in your inventory spaces, in your bank slots, in your shared bank slots that can go across different accounts. So the game creates this strange nebulous bank space called the reincarnation cache, which you can't put anything into barring one or two things that you can kind of trick into going in there where you're not really supposed to. You're really only supposed to be taking things out, and then once it's empty, the reincarnation cache goes away. So as you see, withdraw only. And this reincarnation cache, as far as I'm aware, has infinite bank space, though you can only have as many things in it as you could have had in your inventory, equipped on your person, and in your bank when you reincarnated. So there technically is a limit because there's only so many of those spots. But this lets you retain your gear, so you're really supposed to take this stuff out after you TR, equip it on your person, put it in your bank, put it in your other bank, put it in your main inventory bags, whatever the case. Though, remember the gear is still gated by level, so you can't be level 1 and equip a gear that a level 30 character could use. You still have to grind back up to that level to get it. But this just means that you don't have to farm for those items anymore. Once you hit the level that's appropriate for that gear, you can just throw them on. You don't have to go look for them every time. You got them right there. Especially if you get really rare drops that you can't just get after 1 or 2 runs of a normal quest, that you have to like run a raid 30 times to get. Well, you don't have to do that every time. Like, you just have that item, so it's super useful, as well as a bunch of other utility things like bags that hold various collectibles and ingredients and gems that you can trade in and sell and use to craft with and stuff. You can have bags that hold even hundreds, even 1,000 of those in one inventory space, which is super useful. Some items that can teleport you to certain other locations regardless of where you are. There's not a lot, but there's a few, and you can have things like that. Why the hell is that? Oh, that was on the wolf. That's right, I gotta just sell that. You can have things like cosmetics that just make you look different. I go through. Okay, because I need to take that out too. Consumables like potions, like what do you call them? Like keys, not literally these things called Night Revel keys, but like quest keys that the game just has to check off, okay, you have this in order to access a certain thing. So that way you don't have to acquire that thing to get into the other thing again. Things like potions, random goodie rewards, or things that you've gotten from earning enough favor or reputation with different factions. Sometimes they give you an item in return for having done a bunch of quests for them. The biggest one I would say is probably the Harper pin, especially the greater version, which is clicky. It's got 5 minutes of cooldown before you can use it again, but you use it and then all crowd control effects on you go away, or at least that's how it's supposed to work. And the other big favor item to keep an eye out for, if I can find it, is the Key to the City Evening Star, which will let you teleport to Evening Star, which, if you noticed, was not one of the places where the captain or the far shifter could send us. So, you know, there's a couple other useful things here and there that are just really good to have. Oh yeah, Rachel, the Feywild ring I was talking about is the Lionheart ring. That's the one with stunning on it.
Your mic broke up there. The Feywild what?
The Feywild item I was talking about with stunning, it's the Lionheart ring.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there's a bunch of jazz you can go through. And just make sure you... Oh, Wait, were those conjured bolts? Wait, 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 Rachel, those conjured bolts that my Inquisitive made are still in the TR cache. Even though they're supposed.
Funny.
So, if you guys can read that, it says destroyed after logout. So, certain characters can get the ability to create ammunition, right? This ability here, Conjure Bolts. For 30 spell points, you make bolts. A stack of 1,000 bolts that you can use to shoot these from crossbows of various kinds. They're supposed to disappear, dissolve into nothingness when you log out, once you've stayed locked out for a certain amount of time. But, the game only attempts to remove things from your TR cache when you explicitly pull them out, and it gives you a copy and then deletes it. But because you're not taking them out, they're not automatically being deleted from the logout, so, yeah, there's just conjured bolts that are just gonna sit there until I take them out, like right now. And then I will just have conjured bolts in my inventory from another timeline, so that's a thing. But anywho, I think that's going to about sum it up for now. We're going to take some time to pull a bunch of items here out of the TR cache, and honestly, probably take a break for a little bit even after that, just to, you know, get some food or do something else, or whatever the case may be. But at the very least, we managed to get through the basic tutorial. So, thank you all for watching, and I believe things should hopefully get a little bit quicker and smoother with each video, as there's just kind of less random junk like that to go over, and after a while, eventually it will just be straight up, hey, look, gameplay, yay.
Yay.
But for those of you that have like no idea what's going on, hopefully you can either osmosis a few things here and there, or the things I do directly explain will at least help you to some extent at some point. But in the meantime, bye!
Bye.